Hello, and welcome to the Quietly Visible podcast, the show for introverted women who want to lead with confidence, influence, and impact. I'm your host, Carol Stewart, author of Quietly Visible, leading with influence and impact as an introverted woman, and founder of Abounding Solutions. Now, today, the topic is 3 ways to grow your influence without performing confidence that you don't feel. So many women feel that they're performing a version of themselves of being confident, which isn't actually them. Then they're not leading from a place of who they actually are. And the problem with this is that putting on this performance is exhausting. It's exhausting, it's stressful, it chips away at their self-confidence and self-belief, and it doesn't build lasting influence. And what I'm going to be covering today is 3 practical ways that you can build real influence starting from where you are. And so influence is not just about volume, visibility, bravado, charisma, being loud. It's about having presence, clarity, consistency, and bringing people along with you, inspiring people to buy into whatever it is that you're wanting to influence them for. And when you think about the most influential leaders that you know, they don't all shout the loudest, or do they? Or do they make you feel heard? Are they clear? And do you feel moved to act based on who they are and what they're saying? And confidence isn't a prerequisite to influence. It's often a byproduct of it. So when you have that influence, when you know that you have that influence, confidence comes as a byproduct. So the first tip is about getting clear on your why before you go to those high stake meetings or you have those high stake moments. Um, when we feel underconfident, we focus on how we're going to come across. We worry about that and we don't focus on what we're there to do. How many times have you gone into a meeting where you've had to maybe deliver a presentation to the board or to a client, and you need to be able to influence them to come along with your ideas or to put money into what you're proposing, and you're worrying about how you come across. And so when you go in there, because you're worrying about it, you feel anxious. And then because you feel anxious, you don't perform to the best of your ability and your confidence levels have waned, they've dropped. How many times has that happened to you? Rather than focusing on the purpose of what you're there to do, what you're there to deliver, what outcome that you are hoping to get. So before you go to deliver a presentation or you go into a meeting or having a difficult conversation, ask yourself, why does this matter? What's the outcome that you're here to contribute to? And I get a vision of what that looks like, what that feels like, so that that can be your the center of what you're there for. You can have that at the forefront of your mind, that that is the purpose of what you're there for. And a framework or a way you can frame this is using the why, what, so what next framework to help structure your thinking and your communication. So, why does this matter? What am I saying or proposing or asking for? So, what does that mean for us? So, not just for you, but for us, for the team, for the department, for the organization, for your client. What does that mean for us? And what next? What action or decision do you need? And get clear about what those are. And that helps to shift the focus from being self conscious to being purposeful about it. And the thing is that when you shift from that being self-conscious to that being purposeful about it, everyone in the room can sense that, they can feel that. Because when you're lacking confidence, when you're acting confident and you're really not confident, you're performing confidence, that doesn't come across as a natural, authentic confidence. So by just making this little shift, that can make a big difference for you. The second tip is about using strategic visibility. And so being influential doesn't require you to be everywhere. Some people think that you've got to be here, you've got to be there, you've got to be doing this, seem to be doing this, you've got to be on social media, on LinkedIn, you've got to be at every networking event, you've got to be seen online. It doesn't require that. It doesn't require you being everywhere. But what it does require is that you show up consistently where it matters. So think about, where do you need to be seen? Where do you need to be heard? And where do you need to stand out? Because if you spread yourself too thin, that's going to dilute your presence. Um, Even if it's just one well-chosen space that you consistently show up in, that will compound your credibility. And so ask yourself, where do the people that you want to influence need to see you? So where do you need to pay attention? Could it be that it's a team meeting? Could it be a board meeting? Could it be LinkedIn? Could it be a particular industry specific event that happens frequently? And identify where that is and show up consistently there, and with intention, be intentional about it, and go there regularly and be clear about your point of view and your perspective and get that across. Because consistency builds trust and trust builds influence. You don't need to be loud, and you may have heard me say this time and time again. You don't need to be loud, but you do need to have presence. And another thing, you need to be reliable. People need to be able to trust you. And my third tip is, let your track record speak for itself without feeling like you're bragging or boasting. And many introverted women are very uncomfortable talking about their own impact. I see this time and time again with my coaching clients who get told, oh, they've undersold themselves because they didn't talk about their personal achievements. They talked a lot about the we and the team effort, but not about the part that they played. And the reason why many don't like it is because it can feel arrogant, or it can feel too self-promotional. And I don't even like the term self-promotional because it does sound a bit icky, a bit self-centered. And so one thing I often have is women, or when I'm doing sort of self-promotion or personal branding workshops, often have conversations about how a lot of what's required, the activities that are required for these, don't come naturally because they're introverted. And they'll ask, well, why can't their work just speak for itself? And in an ideal world, that would happen, but we're not in an ideal world. So by you talking about your achievements, letting people know the difference that you're making and the impact that you're having, that will enable you to be seen, to be heard, and to stand out. But the thing is, if you don't do that, if you don't let people know your what your contribution is, or you don't tell them about it, they won't know about it. Or someone else will claim it and say that they've done it. So it's not about boasting, it's not about bragging, it's about letting people know the value that you've added and the difference that you've made. And it's about giving them that information um, about that, and that will help them to trust you even more. And so using language that doesn't feel like bragging or boasting can help. So um, talking about things that you've worked on. Oh, when we tried this approach, I did this and the outcome was, or one of the things that I often say to clients, or when I'm doing these workshops on self-promotion, is if you feel really uncomfortable about talking about your successes and achievements, use the STAR framework. So if you've heard of the STAR technique, which is used in when you're applying for role jobs, and frame what you have done, your achievements within the STAR framework. So S stands for situation, T stands for what the task was at hand, A stands for the action that you took, and R stands for the results, the outcome that you got. So that can then help you to think about how you can get across what you did, and the outcomes that you achieved. So it's not about you coming across as me, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. It's about you showcasing and letting people know the impact that you've had and the difference that you've made. And one thing that I tell my clients to do is to keep a success folder, to keep a folder of their wins, of any messages, notes, emails that they get where people have thanked them for doing a great job, or where they've exceeded, where they've done something really well. Because having that success folder to hand gives you an instant record of your achievements, and it can be easy to forget them when you're wanting to let people know about what you've achieved, or what you have done. But having that record to hand makes it easier to recall. And plus, as well, you can look at it to get motivation and be inspired about all the great things that you've done. So, to sum up, I've shared 3 tips that will help you with getting that influence, growing your influence without performing confidence that isn't you, or that you don't feel. And I've talked about getting clear on your why before you go into high stakes moments. So thinking about the purpose of what it is that you are there for and the outcome that you want. Using strategic visibility, thinking about the spaces that you need to be showing up in, and do that consistently. You don't need to be everywhere, but identify those spaces where you will make the most impact, or where you will have the greatest influence. And finally, let your track record speak for itself. Use language to talk about your achievements that feels naturally. Frame your achievements within the STAR framework, or use the STAR framework to get across what it is that you want to put across. And so I'll leave you with this question. Where are you performing confidence? And where might you shift your focus to building genuine influence instead? So do share this episode, share your comments on this episode, and connect on LinkedIn, or sign up to my quietly visible LinkedIn newsletter. So thank you for listening. And if you're wanting to increase your confidence, influence, and impact, if you haven't completed the free assessment on my website, go to aboundingsolutions.com. Under the free resources, there is an assessment there that you can complete that will give you ideas about areas you can focus on. So until the next time,